What's up YouTube, this is Mr. VibNathaniel113 here today bringing you a rather different video than you ever expected me to do. Yes, that's right, if you're already scratching your head from the title of the video, today I decided to try something different. You see, yesterday after playing a lot of TF2 and getting really bored, I decided to go and watch one of my favorite music videos that I haven't seen in a while. It's a rather interesting Japanese song known as Alice Human Sacrifice, created by Yugumi P. The song itself is about these four Alices that were successful in what they did but committed to a sin which became their downfall, and they all ended up paying the price for it, leading off of one another, going from one Alice to the next. Each Alice represented a different shape of cards, the first Alice being the Woman of Spade, the second Alice being the Man of the Diamond, the third the Queen of Clubs, and the fifth being a duo of Ace of Hearts. At first I had the same reaction to the song that many other people had. I thought it was weird and disturbing. But that's also what made me like it, because I like this kind of stuff. I find it fascinating, so I decided to download it onto my PC so I could keep listening to it over and over again. The song itself was a great musical, and I thought it was amazing how twisted the person made the story. That was how I felt, until I saw a comment to which made me believe it wasn't even a story after all. When I went back to listen to it again on YouTube, I saw an interesting comment that someone had left on the video. Someone had mentioned something about the song and how it gets even creepier once you realize that the song is based off of a true story, and said to go check out a story known as the Alice Killings. So it sparked my interest, which is weird for me because normally I don't look at creepypastas. I find most of them to be more of a laugh than a scare. It's rather hard to scare me considering I've seen this stuff far too many times, but sometimes I do find a good creepypasta once in a while. And after reading this story is no exception. Let's dive into the Alice Killings. The Alice Killings remain to this day one of the strangest and unsolvable serial killings in Japan. From 1999 to 2005, a series of 5 killings took place. The 5 killings might have been completely different if not for the calling card that the killer left at each crime scene. He would leave a playing card, it varied from killing to killing, at each scene, in an obvious location that had Alice written on it in the victim's blood. Very few clues were found at each crime scene, and eventually, the case went cold. The first victim was Sasagi Megumi, a 29-year-old owner of a restaurant. Those who knew her described her as a headstrong woman with a short temper and a sharp tongue when dealing with her employees. She was known by her customers for her fine cooking and her dedicatedness to her job. Outside of her job, Megumi was very social and often went to parties. It was after one such party that she went missing. She decided to walk home from her friend's house, seeing as she was only 1 block away from her home, and she was a bit too drunk to drive. Several people offered to drive her home, but she shrugged it off. She was seen leaving at the party at 1 in the morning, and this is the last time she was seen alive. The next morning, a couple walking in the woods about a mile from Megumi's house saw a large amount of blood in an overgrown, unused path. Curious, they followed it, where they found Megumi's body. She had been torn apart, her parts impaled on various tree branches. The couple called the police. It was the police that found the playing card, crammed into Megumi's mouth. It was a Jack of Spades, which had the word Alice written on it. As previously mentioned, there were no fingerprints or any DNA to be found. There was vomit on the scene, but the female of the couple admitted to it being hers. Yamane Okayo was a barely known singer in a band that never played anything more than at various bars and community functions. His friends described him as a kind-hearted man who would never raise his voice off stage. After his death, his band fell apart, not having the heart to find a new singer. Okayo was abducted from his apartment on February 11, 2001. His bandmates were the last people to see him alive, as he practiced with them earlier in the day. That night, his girlfriend came over to visit him, and was surprised to find the house empty. Within days, a missing persons report was filed, and a search for him began. On the security footage of the apartment, a hooded figure could be seen entering through a side door and leaving with a large garbage bag that bulged strangely. This strange appearance was never accounted for, and no one ever saw the strange man in person. This man is widely believed to be the killer, but his face was never shown, and there appears to be some doubt. The following week, the owner of the bar, Yoshida's, where the band had often performed, was opening for the day, and was met with a grisly sight. Slumped at a table was Akayo's body. His vocal cords had been ripped from his throat, and he had been shot in the head. His Alice card was the King of Diamonds. and was found clenched in his hands, along with his ruined vocal cords. Akayo would never perform again. A teen girl, Kai Sakura had her whole life ahead of her. She was a sweet girl and well loved by her classmates and relatives. She wanted to go to college to be a fashion designer and was a week from graduating high school when she was abducted. Sakura's family went frantic trying to find her, and the whole town crammed for the lost girl. Her body was found 2 days later, buried in a shallow grave. It didn't seem that the killer wanted her hidden. On the contrary, he had marked her grave with her Alice playing card, the Queen of Clubs. It had been taped to a stick on the top of the grave. Sakura's body had been horribly mutilated. Her eyes had been carved from her body. Her skin was flayed, and her mouth had been carved open. A crown had been sewn to her head, likely while she was still alive. No sexual crimes had been committed, either pre- or post-mortem. Along with Sakura's body was a note, written in straggly handwriting. It contained more disjointed phrases, some of which weren't even readable. Death is a deserted dream. She will rule forever. Ha ha. Those which die are the lucky ones. Where various phrases had been written. Among those, a match to the handwriting was never found. These two were the last of the killings, and the least gruesome. Hayato and Hina were siblings, and very close. Hina was the elder sister, and was very stubborn. Her younger brother, Hayato, was very smart and had skipped a grade, causing him to be in the same class as his beloved sister. The two rarely fought, as most siblings tended to do. The two were found dead in their beds on April 4, 2005. The cause of death was a lethal injection. The children's bedroom window was open, and it was deducted that the killer snuck in quickly enough to kill the two without waking them, then snuck back out. Each child held half of an Ace of Hearts playing card that, when put together, spelled out the word Alice. One very smudged footprint was found on their carpet, but closer inspection was made impossible by the severe damage done to it. This was the only piece of evidence, other than the playing card, left at the scene. A year later, the mother of Hayato and Hina committed suicide out of grief. Their father, who is still alive to this day, is going through extensive therapy to get over the death of his entire family. At this moment, he is heavily depressed and extremely medicated. They would never be awoken from their terrifying dream. Shortly after the death of the Oshiro siblings, a man named Suzuki Yuto was arrested for the murders. He was a bum with mental problems, who claimed to not remember where he was at the time of any of the murders. Most damning of all, he was seen wearing a coat that had belonged to Yami Okayo. A bit of blood on the sleeve tested positive to be his. Yuto, who was raving at this point, claimed that a demon black man with no face had given him the coat. Yuto was eventually released when a homeless shelter 5 miles from the Kai household claimed to have Yuto in their files for the night of Sakura's murder. Since there was no way for him to get to where she was abducted and back without being noticed, Yuto was released. On April 30th, 2008, a producer known as Yugami P uploaded his first song to Niku Video, called Hitobashira Asu, translated roughly as Alice of Human Sacrifice. This song is believed to be based off of the Alice killings. It tells the story of a little dream who lures people into its world, and then goes on to tell the story of each Alice. The song has a few parallels with each killing. The first Alice, voiced by Miko, was trapped in the woods, which is where Megumi's body was found. The second Alice, voiced by Kaito, was a singer who was shot by a madman. The third Alice, voiced by Hatsune Miku, was well loved, became the country's queen, and was taken over by a distorted dream. The fourth Alice, voiced by Kagami no Ren, was a pair of twins regarded as one Alice. They are described as a tough big sister and intelligent younger brother. It also speaks of how they have yet to awaken, a possible reference to them dying in their sleep. In addition, the suits of cards found with each body are also mentioned. Yugumi P has not stated for sure if the song has any relation to the Alice killings, but it is widely assumed. So that's the story of the Alice killings. Pretty amazing, is it not? When first reading the story, I was a little freaked by it, simply because of how real and twisted the story sounded. Then when trying to listen to the song once again, I couldn't shake the fact of what it was based off of, which made me lose interest a little bit. However, later I would find out that the story is indeed fake after a post on the Creepypasta was put stating, "The story is completely fictional. Any resemblance to real events or names is completely unintentional. The story was based off of the song Alice of the Human Sacrifice." This can also be confirmed when you try to search each of the victims' names. You will find no reports or stories, as all the people named seem to just be a part of the story, with the only person being real as Megumi, which is completely different than the person labeled in the story. Which did bum me out a bit at the fact that I thought it was real, but then again I also had to remember, it's a creepypasta. They're meant to scare you. They're not meant to be real. Which, yeah, sure worked on me. If you would like to check out the reading for yourself or the song that goes with the reading, the links will be provided in the description below. But that's my reading of the Alice killings. Please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe for more future video reviews, commentaries, unboxings, and Let's Plays. This has been Mr. Vibnathaniel113 from the Gaming Zone, and I'll see y'all later, gang. Take care.